John Nichols, the Washington editor of The Nation, thenation.com, is sitting right next to me. And John, it is great to see you.
It's very good. It's very good to see you in person. We have done this year probably
many times.
40, 50 times, usually by phone, talking about Wisconsin, talking about other struggles. And there is a great pleasure, being,
Thanks.
talk
and
about
we need to do it more.
Yeah.
222 years ago this week, something significant happened.
Yeah, this is my favorite story to tell, and it's just a little reminder. It's actually mainly for Ann Coulter, who's called the Occupy Wall Street folks a mob and all this stuff. Right. 222 years ago.
Arguably, in the language of 230 years ago,
it may be. Yeah, they might be throwing tea into the harbor. Yeah. Well, but 222 years ago, this period right now, late September, early October, the Constitution of the United States was ratified. First, the amendments to it, the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights, First Amendment, you have a right to assemble and petition for the redress of grievances, the most radical of all rights.
Right.
And it was ratified at number 26 Wall Street in New York City, precisely where kids are now exercising their right to assemble and petition for the redress of grievances. And it is my view that for the first time in 222 years, Wall Street is being used for a good purpose.
Wow. And my recollection is that that's where George Washington also stood when he was sworn into office.
That federal building down there is where the Republic went from a dream to a reality.
Right.
Imperfectly, as
New York was our first capital.
You've written about the imperfections, but I just think it's so vital to come full circle there and to realize that these folks who are doing Occupy Wall Street are physically on the hallowed ground of the American Republic, the American experiment, American democracy, and they are using the first political right that the founders gave to the people, that being the right to assemble and petition for the redress of grievances. Right, I think we ought to never forget that, because there's so many people attacking them, condemning them, dismissing them, even some liberals who are very cautious about it. I just want to say, I think we're coming full circle, and it's a very exciting moment.
I was very disappointed to see this clip from Maria Bartiromo's new CNN show. Really?
I'm shocked that you were disappointed by a CNN show.
Yeah, in which she went down to Wall Street and she just basically was interviewing hippies, and she finally got this one guy to say, "Well, I'll tell you what I'm upset about, the bailout." And she said, "Well, what if I told you that the bailout actually produced a $20 billion profit for the American taxpayer?" And he goes, "Well, then," she says, "would you still be upset?" And he says, "Well, I guess not." And so, it's like...
Well, it's a bogus argument because, of course, it doesn't recognize that in addition to the core bailout, they let loose $4 trillion of additional money put in the Federal Reserve for backing up corporations and banks, which is really what stalled out.
$13 trillion, according to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, well, it is, and there are levels here. The $4 trillion being the initial, and now the extension on it, giving loans even to the Bank of Libya.
Yeah.
And so the notion that we've been paid back is comic. It's part of what stalled our economy out, is the structures that began with the bailout. But the other thing about it is this.
The Bush bailout, by the way.
Well, yes, indeed.
Let us make it very
Paul
clear.
Ryan bailout. He was the floor manager to get the conservatives on board. But here's the really important thing to remember about that. I think the vital thing. And that is that at a critical point when our economy was getting really stalled out, we gave bankers enough money so that they could stabilize themselves and then even throw some money back to the government. That's fine. But we did not do that for homeowners, for laid-off workers, for people in communities that have been suffering, from plant closures, things of that nature.
Right.
So, I mean, even if what Maria Bartiromo or somebody, or Aaron Burnett or whoever, what they're saying is right, even if what they're saying is right, the bottom line is this. We are in a society today that does that for bankers, but that does not do it for working people, for citizens. And that's something that should fundamentally change. I don't mind if some rich person got some money, paid it back. That's fine. What I care is that working people never got the chance in the first place.
Yeah. Did I mix up my hosts?
I think you did. I think it was Aaron Burnett.
Aaron Burnett.
I believe. And you know what?
I don't watch that much TV.
And you know what? Because I was as mad about it as you were when I saw it.
Okay. And you're better with names than I am.
No, I don't know.
I appreciate that. You have also, you're working on an article for The Nation.
Yeah.
And I know when you're in a work in progress, A, you so much want to talk about it, and B, you don't want to give away the whole thing.
Oh, I'll give it away. It's going to press tonight. So
okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, then tell us about it.
Well, I've been out around the country and doing something that was fun. Katrina Vandenhoevel, our editor and publisher, was here the other day.
Yesterday.
And she said, a while back, she said, look, we got to really figure out about this primary Obama thing, this notion of running against Obama in the primaries. Why has it been so talked about but so little realized? What are the, what's the mood? So I went out and I spent a lot of time talking to people. College students who are involved in sweatshop work, grassroots Democrats, labor folks, swing voters, going around. But everybody who liked Obama, the 2008 coalition. And I have to say, and you know this, Tom, from your show, first thing I heard was a stunning level of disappointment. It is something, I wish I could have taken the president, who I've known, not close, but I've been around for a long time. I wish he could have come along on this trip and met with some of these people and talked with, just listened in, because it was so powerful.
You've met President Obama?
Oh, yeah.
I've never met him.
I've interviewed him, but back when he was in Illinois, covering local politics.
Oh, yeah. In your neck of the woods.
covered when he ran for the state senate.
Sure.
And the new party endorsed him. He was backed by all liberal left coalition.
Yeah.
But I was so powerfully struck by how deeply disappointed people are. And yet their disappointment has not translated necessarily to a hatred of Obama or the sort of anti-LBJ anger. This anger...
Yeah, well, LBJ was aggressively, hey, LBJ, how many kids have you killed today?
This isn't that. This is a sadness and a disappointment, but also a fascinating internal wrestling that people are going through. This question of, is this the right guy? Right. Literally, is he the right guy to throw into the 2012 race with the likes of a Mitt Romney or a Chris Christie? And I came away from it. It's one of those, as a journalist, it's one of those stories that I love the best. This story that does not come away with an easy, happy answer or everything wrapped up in a neat box, but with this fundamental reality that we probably have about 2 or 3 more weeks to decide whether Barack Obama is going to face any kind of serious primary challenge of any kind, what Ralph Nader's talking about, what other people, and also what that's all going to mean. And it's a very interesting thing because no president since World War II has been in Obama's situation. Very low poll numbers, a real lot of disenchantment with him in his base, and
arguably Reagan was.
Well, his base was still pretty solid,
yeah.
but no president's been in this situation and not faced some kind of challenge. I don't think he will. I'm not sure that he will.
I have a theory about primaries, and I may be totally wacky on this, but I think this is pretty solid. And if this has already occurred to you, cool. If it hasn't, feel free to.
I'll use it.
Feel free to use it.
I use everything I hear. Yeah.
But I would appreciate the credit for it because I've thought about this long and hard. I believe that political institutions are not that different from biological institutions. Mm-hmm. I think that when Jefferson wrote Nature's God into the Declaration of Independence, he was very clear that democracy is part of the natural law.
It's an organic reality.
The natural order of things. Yeah. And I think that when a political organism recognizes that they're about to lose, then out of that organism will come an attempt to change things, and that attempt to change things is either the people who are running it change direction, which I think we're seeing right now, and the candidate changes direction, or a primary challenge comes along. And I would submit to you that all of those primary challenges were of people on both parties over the last 100 years or more longer, have been of candidates who probably would have lost anyway. The conventional wisdom is the exact opposite. It's that the primary challenge so weakens the candidate that they lose.
Tom, you're exactly right, but let me interrupt something. And this is a fascinating thing in working on this piece, because you're wrong.
Okay.
About one thing. You're right about your theory and your historical arc, exactly right, as it always is. This one thing. Who were, from 1950 to now, except for Reagan, and I'm arguing since 1980 with the change in campaign finance laws and other things, there's not been a real primary challenge.
No.
The closest you got was Buchanan. But from 1950 to now, who, aside from Reagan, who were the presidents who were reelected with the biggest landslides?
Well, Nixon had a huge landslide.
And Democrat. Lyndon Johnson, 64.
Yeah.
Okay, landslide wins. In 1964, Johnson and his surrogates faced a determined primary challenge from George Wallace, running on a segregationist ticket, who got more than 30% of the vote in Wisconsin and in Indiana, got more than 40% of the vote in Maryland. In 1972...
And Michigan went for Wallace.
Oh, he did very well.
Yeah.
But in 1972, Richard Nixon faced a challenge from a sitting Republican congressman on the right and a sitting Republican congressman on the left, who combined got more than 30% of the vote in New Hampshire. Primary challenges do not translate to necessary defeat.
That's my point.
Yeah, not at all.
They're a symptom of an organism that is struggling or in trouble.
Exactly.
And if the candidate changes his position, if the primary challenge causes
take in elements of what's going on. Exactly.
Right. If the organism adapts, it survives. If the organism doesn't adapt, it dies. A certain amount of Darwinism, but I think it's more like Stephen Jay Gould's punctuated equilibrium.
I think
this is one of those tipping
right.
points.
And that's what this article and what I'm trying to do is to kind of open up this dialogue.
And so the question is, will Obama, become the populist that I think could win?
Mm-hmm.
And he's on the verge of, I think, doing some things that are really going to hurt his ability to do that.
These trade proposals are literally the worst thing you could do. And I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think he teeters on the brink, but I will tell you that people keep looking at the Republican fight. I think we're at an important side on the Democratic side as well, and defining what this party's going to be.
Is there anybody who would mount a primary challenge?
Not anybody. No, I looked a lot at it. The logical person is Cornel West, because he's spoken up, and also because he can deal with some of the challenges that people will have in taking on the first African American president.
But yeah, well, that's a good point. John Nichols with The Nation.
Thank you so much.